Okay, so let's talk first about frame data on block. A rekka is -2 on block, very safe unless shielded. B rekka is going to be -7 on block, always unsafe. C rekka is -4 on block, which can be safer from a distance. Hydroblading, which is notated as 2 and 4 XX, is -3 on block. These can be increased for different properties, but the frame data always remains the same. Frame data does change on the third stage of each rekka series. So C version goes from -4 to -14. B version goes from -7 to -10. Hydroblading goes from -3 to -10. The only one that is safe is A rekka. A rekka stays -2. Very important for keeping yourself safe. A rekka can be used for pressure when spaced correctly. It's generally a safe special to use in a block string and is gapless from C normals and 5B. It can be awkward or outright difficult for certain characters to challenge at the spacing where Londrekia's own 5A connects, and even if they know the right answer, they might still get whiff punished or counterpoked in some way. Knowledge checking with A rekka pressure is a good conditioning tool for rekka follow-ups, which can frame trap the opponent for high reward. Just knowing the right answer is not enough, they also have to have the right answer at the right time. Something I feel I should cover sooner rather than later in this video is the risk of green shielding rekkas. 214A can be used to actively check for green shielding during a block string. However, any rekka that is green shielded can be thrown for a grid break. Keep this in mind when I talk about counterplay and risk reward later. On the note of counterplay, like I mentioned earlier, A rekka is the safe third stage, but it can be made unsafe by shielding. This brings it from -2 to -5, so characters with 5 frame normals can get a combo. 6 frame characters will not be able to punish with their normals and have to resort to punishing with a throw instead. It's worth noting, if you are a 6 frame character shielding A rekka in the corner, the added pushback from the corner can prevent your throw punish. You can, in theory, microdash throw, but it's difficult to perform consistently. If you do not punish third stage A rekka, you can get counterpoked out of your turn with force function. However, force function is not throw involved, so throwing here instead of poking will blow that greedy option up. The other thing Londrekia players will do if you don't shield for a punish is backdash. If you scout this option, be sure to punish that as well. I will get into the pressure and mix-up applications of B rekka, but first let's cover the neutral aspects. B rekka is head and dive involved in frames 11 through 15, moves Londrekia forward quite a bit, and can be useful for intercepting at an angle that most anti-airs don't have access to. The increased version has a smaller invul window but can reach much further. The super blessed / super cursed thing about rekkas and neutral is they can be freely whiff cancelled into each other and continue to track the opponent even if they swap sides. While this is usually a good thing, it can get him into trouble sometimes. However, Londrekia can also cancel whiffed rekkas into EX moves, potentially avoiding danger. It's worth mentioning that first stage B rekka needs more rekka follow-ups to convert to a combo. However, second stage B rekka will pick up on its own even without counter hit. When it comes to rekkas in neutral, once they start, you have no reason to believe that they're going to stop until they reach the opponent. Always keep that in mind when gauging how to respond. Okay, now on to the fun part. Increased B rekka has pass-through properties within the context of a game with strong cross-up protection, by the way. So the increased version of B rekka can be used to bait VO pretty reliably. However, it's terrible for getting on the other side of DPs. So, instead of the increased version, using second stage B rekka will give the same pass-through but much faster. Like that. It's fast enough to bait DPs, or even 3-frame C DPs, or even flash kick. Second stage B rekka is basically just a better increased B rekka. Let's go over the situation where Londrekia whiffs 2 and 4B to end up right in front of the opponent. This is the day 1 mix-up, but it's actually deceptively strong, because he can also cancel a little late into an overhead or low to crush a throw OS. Both the overhead and low put Londrekia airborne and easily crush stand teching. The overhead will also punish a delayed 1AD. Now, even if the opponent reacts very quickly to B rekka, the C rekka may crush their poke attempt, and we'll cover more of this later, by the way. So what to do? You might end up successfully mashing, or you might react too strictly and be thrown anyways. The variable timings of the rekka follow-ups overall make mashing an unreliable option. That said, Phonon, Merkaba, and Seth all have 5As that reach Londrekia in the air, so for them the throw versus overhead mix isn't so daunting. However, trading with A rekka is a full combo for Londrekia, so even for these characters, mashing is not without big risks. One way to deal with the situation is with a dive kick or rising button OS. This will punish the main mix-ups, throw versus overhead, pretty consistently. The easy option, don't lie, you are already thinking it, is just to mash Veil off. This covers any mix-up attempt and has to be hard baited by the Londrekia player. It's going to cost you your meter though, so weigh your options. Rekka in neutral is the fastest way to cancel into hydroblading, a massive half-screen sweep. This is a true menace in neutral and makes walking away from Lond pretty scary. However, the 2 hits always play out, so Lond can be whiff punished from the air pretty easily. Be careful trying to shield this move as he has an overhead option as well. Speaking of which, I will get into Rekka overheads, but first, neutral applications. Rekka is leg invul starting on frame 6. It also pulls his hurtbox high up, letting him crush mids. The increased version travels far across the screen and can go soaring over fireballs and other pokes. This functions a bit like a super assault and is a strong neutral threat in most matchups. It can even be used for some unique punishes. So what to do about it? Well, it has head properties, so of course it can be countered by head invul normals or specials. If your character has a parry, it's a good option. Any head invul move that can be used easily on reaction is strong against it. Even certain B and C normals with disjointed hitboxes can interrupt it. However, there is a sweet spot where Londrekia's legs come down where your head invul normals are going to be really inconsistent. If using head invul is your character's option, you need to close the distance first. It's that, or back up and whiff punish. If you do back up to whiff punish, be very careful about rekka follow-ups. You need to know your spacing and what normal you're going to use to interrupt. You can get mixed up by rekka into hydroblading, so again, be careful when backing up. So about rekka's overhead properties. The most ideal situation to use a first stage rekka overhead is to punish a greedy shield attempt from the opponent, especially if it wins Vorpal and nets some big damage. The first stage increased rekka is a leisurely, easily reactable 29 frame startup. However, with each stage it gets faster. The second stage rekka is 27 frames, and it can be made to feel faster with obfuscation. The third stage rekka is 25 frames, but it's fully unsafe on block and gives less damage on hit. I mentioned earlier that increased rekkas don't have different frame data, but spacing is equally important for getting a punish. Increased rekka means right next to the opponent at -4, so throw punish. Not so if rekka is used without increase. A very valuable skill in the Lond matchup is shielding the second hit of rekka to make it -7. Characters blessed with strong frame data can even get a punish on the spaced out rekka. Try shielding increased rekka and see what sort of punish your character can get. If you can demonstrate to the Londrekia player that you can punish rekkas, you force them to take more risks each time rekkas are used. Oh no, I'm -7. Oh no, I'm -7 again. Oh no, my safe third stage got punished. And this is the core of rekka counterplay. By showing that you're able to punish the initial layers of rekka pressure, the Londrekia player is forced to adapt and move on to the next layer. When you meet them on that layer, they have to move on to the next, and so on. There is no singular counterplay option that is all-encompassing or infallible. Ultimately, it's up to player interaction. Case in point, even DP'ing gaps isn't guaranteed. But you can condition the Lond player on defense just as much as they can condition you on their offense. You have to adapt to them just as they're adapting to you. If that seems at all too loose or random, consider the aspects of risk-reward in rekka interactions. Here's a scenario. It's round start, round 1, no one has meter or Vorpal, and the Lond player uses second stage rekka. You green shield and get thrown. Was this a worthwhile risk? Well, if you shielded third stage rekka, you get a combo, right? What happens if you didn't shield and you just mashed? 1k damage from a rekka. But what if they try to throw? Again, you get your combo. Now what if the Lond player is playing like a psychopath and uses third stage rekka? They get a combo on counter hit. But if you do nothing, you get a big combo. There's no one answer that's always correct, but it can help you understand your opponent better. Are they a cheeky player who likes to make early callouts? Are they a safe player who sticks to the rules? Or are they a dice rolling maniac? Hopefully this video has helped you understand the dynamics of the matchup a bit better. Good luck and have fun.